Alright, we are in the air. Good afternoon, or whatever time it is in your place. My name is Bernardus, and this week we'll be covering last week's syllabus. Yes, last week. I said last week because this was supposed to be finished in 21st of June. But how can I finish it when I was a committee in my school's 50th anniversary and I was at school from 7:30 a.m. to 21 p.m. Not at school, but Big Junction. Yes, the celebration was there. But I was at school at 7:30. So I cannot record. I couldn't record. I couldn't finish the video. I couldn't finish the project. And I finished it this week. But surprise, surprise, I accidentally did next week's syllabus, search and filter engine. I accidentally created a search bar because I think when you want to store password, you need to have a search bar. And yeah, this is where I did two projects with one code base. Yes, smart. Okay, so this project is a secure document vault. It is an application where you can store your password inside of it. It is fully HTTPS, though it uses a how should I say? No, a self-signed certificate. So yeah, any browser won't accept that. Okay, any browser won't accept that. We use Spring Security. Yes, I did Spring Security, but it has a massive flaw. You'll learn later. I also use virtual threads. Did I? Application.properties. Okay, yes, virtual threads. I use JWT client still. I use Analog.js isomorphic nature. I use PostgreSQL also. But yeah, then with a search bar that filters as you type, yes, that was implemented clearly. This is the code base, as you can see, the backend directory and the front-end directory, and the readme is right here. This is the final result, but we'll dive deep into that later, and now we'll cover the code base architecture first. So we'll start with the backend, right? This is the oh yeah, and also I switched to Z for my front-end code editor. I know VS Code is better as it is written in TypeScript, but yeah, my RAM couldn't take VS Code anymore, man. 7 gigabytes for plugins, I can't handle it. So this is the I didn't create any task because again I thought I was late, but turns out. So we have four packages right here. We have credential, which is the feature that allows you to store your passwords, your credentials in the database. And then we have the auth. This is deeply interconnected to user. Basically, this means that user can only do read, update, and delete. Meanwhile, creation, register, and login will be handled by the authorization. We'll start first with the user. Yes, user first. We have the DTO for user. This is for creating a user. This is for creating a user. This is for updating the information. This is for updating password. Okay. Another insight I learned. Patch and put HTTP operation, I guess. Okay. So put will replace the entire thing in the database. But put will replace the entire thing. Patch will only replace what was mentioned. That's fine for dynamic type language like Python and JavaScript, but for Java it is a nightmare because in Java we use data transfer object, which means that every single update must contain the specified in the DTO. If the patch update is highly dynamic, it is bad. So I didn't know if this is correct. I don't know if this is correct or not. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I split the put update into two. Updating password is in its own endpoint in it in its own endpoint. So you have slash password update. That's put because you only change the entirety of password, but you have also have information which replaces the entire information. Yes. This is basically the... Okay, so another thing that I learned is that Spring Security use user details. I should have gone with that. But okay, user details is the one who is used to authenticate with the password and username. That's why when authenticating with Spring Security, you need to use the user details on your user record, or you create a class that has that user record and makes it implements user details. Again, the repository is the same. We have find security by ID. There is a difference between find security and not find security. Find security means that this will only be used by security, for security purposes, and find others will be used by basically anything. This is... Oh, yes, yes, yes. In the repository we have this one. Yes, in the repository we have to create the user, but for the endpoints it won't be on user, it will be on auth register, sign up. Yes, this is basically create, read, update, delete as usual, and we have the check by username. Then we have the service. Again, this is like usual, the create, read, update, delete, find detail. But now here is where things get interesting. Authentication principle is, how should I say it, a way to get your user details. How should I say? See, we need to look at auth package later, but authentication principle basically means, okay, inject the current log authenticated user. Basically that's it, a way to get the information of the currently logged in user, so you can do CRUD operation with it. And that's why in my update I don't need to have the slash ID anymore, because I have the authentication principle user. Pretty good, right? And then the user is finished, we are entering auth. We have the DTO first. This is for login and login response. Login response will send the JWT token and expires in. Okay, this is a bad practice, but I'm just gonna lay it all out. In secure, I dare not say enterprise, but I think it is, the JWT cycle is something like this. You logged in, right? You logged in. You get two things. Access token, which is short-lived and only lives in the cookie and the backend, and then the refresh token, which is stored in the database, hashed and salted. So this short-lived one will live for only about like 15 minutes, I guess, 15 minutes. And once the 15 minutes dies, your front end will fetch to the slash refresh using the refresh token. You will get a brand new access token and refresh token, because the old refresh token will be invalid. Both will be invalid. This cycle repeats to make sure that it is safe. You might think that this is redundant, but this is redundancy at its peak because it is used for security. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm the one who's learning here, but that's from my knowledge. So then we have filters. Okay, I'll talk about filters later, but then we have to look at security config.java. This is a configuration for web security. Spring Boot is not a quote-unquote backend framework. It is primarily a dependency injection and inversion of control framework. Yes. So what does that mean? When you look at a bean, okay, let's go to the controller, alright? Yes, let's go to the controller. You have this annotation, right? you have this annotation. This marks it as a bean. But then you see this right here. I do not create a new auth service for this controller. I just create the field and then I say I need this from the dependency injection machine, because Spring will see, oh, this is a bean and it needs these other beans. I will inject it with the dependency injection. This will be truly explained later in the last section, but yeah, that's for now. Security config. So you know middleware, right? You know middleware. In Java, it is called filters. So because I said that Spring Boot is primarily a dependency injection machine, a bean is something like an instantiated object. So there will be only one object in the entire Spring Boot app, and Spring Boot will inject it everywhere. And Spring Boot Web is the one that makes Spring Boot a web. It injects Tomcat, or if you're using asynchronous type with Kotlin, it is web flux. But again, because we're in Java, we use the Tomcat Spring Boot Web. It injects the Tomcat bean. It doesn't even understand about our filters or middlewares because it is different. So Spring Boot will injects the Tomcat bean with a middleware, and inside that middleware will be many middlewares declared in your security config. I'm kind of forgetting about it. Later it will be explained, but something like that. Okay. So security filter chain, this is we declare it as a bean to declare that how will HTTP be managed. So we say that anything from this route will be permitted, but any other request will need to be authenticated. We add the authentication provider. Where's the authentication provider again? Basically, we add authentication provider, which in this one will be DAO authentication provider. We pass in the user detail service, which is a service to load by username. We set the password encoder, because in the database the password must be encoded, will be hashed, if can be salted again. But in this one we just use bcrypt password encoder, and this is for the course configuration source cross origin service. Yes, if I'm not mistaken. By default, REST controller won't allow anyone to talk to it. You must explicitly say you can only talk to this single one. Yes, I guess that's basically it. This is the security bean config. This is the user detail service that implements a user detail service. This is load user by ID. This load user by username. So this basically means that the DAO authentication provider will need this one. This is the JWT service for creating a JWT service. And then we have JWT authentication filter. This one basically is a middleware to check, okay, is this token valid or not. I won't dive really deep into it because this is really complicated, but as you can see right here, we authenticated. Okay, I'll just go into it. Where am I right now? Okay. If the route is API auth login or API auth register, we skip those two and immediately do filter internal. What? Okay. Sorry. But this basically means that this should not be filtered. And do filter internal, this will text the authentication. We get the subject ID, external subject ID, which how did I get it? Okay. We'll load user by ID because this is user ID, and then basically we authenticate. Okay, we check this one, and if it succeeds, it will be filtered to filter. I'm not a Spring Boot contributor, alright? Forgive me for not truly understanding this one. So that's all service for ya. And then we enter something that I must truly understand. This is okay. First we go to exception. Okay, global exception handler. This basically will catch this exception. We respond with this bad respond. That's basically it. This is a custom exception that I created. That's it. And we have credential. This is for creation. This is for detail. This is for summary. This is for updating information and updating password. This is the entity. We enter the repository. We find all, find by ID, find by search. This is the search bar implementation. This is where I'll be primarily covering. We have the select ID, service name, username, and description from credentials. The AND operator will be checked first. Alright. So if the user ID matches and either one of these three is filled, like username, case insensitive search, or description in case insensitive search, or service name case insensitive search will be okay. I forgot about these two, but I know that this will be important. So let's just search it. Okay, what is the use of covering the search with in front and back in SQL query? Alongside I like. Case insensitive substring search. Okay, I understand it now. So basically, if the character contains this one, sends the same case or not, query it. Yes, that's it. It will return. I use optional as usual, and then in service we query them one by one. If we don't find them, we map credential detail. Oh, okay, this is also a new. This is a pain that I've. So we find by ID, right? We get optional. Remember, we get optional from find by ID, and then we map. We pass in the optional. We say the decrypted password is null, and then we try to decrypt it. And if it has exception, we will throw decryption failed encryption, which will be catched by the global exception handler. But if it succeeds, we will return the credential detail with the ID, service name, username, description, and the decrypted password. It will be hidden by front end later, or else throw not found exception. Okay, understand. We return optional long so that the controller can do whatever it wants later. So I'm not gonna deep dive into it because Spring Boot was easier done rather than the front end somehow. For me, okay. I won't dive really deep into the front end since it's mostly UI, and since I used Spartan UI to easen my burdens. This is it. So okay, this one is guards. Guards are when you use type can activate VN, you can pass it into the route metadata so that this one will be executed, as you can see right here. If all guards return true, navigation continues. If any guards return false, navigation is cancelled. If any guard returns a URL tree, the current navigation is cancelled and a new application begins to the URL tree returned from the guard. And and a guard can accept a boolean, router tree, a promise, or an observable. As you can see right here, this one is an observable. The guard will later subscribe to this one, and then it'll get the data. Okay, we get true, we got the create URL tree, and etc. etc. That's basically the guards. And we have the interceptor. This one is an HTTP interceptor VN, which will clone the current function but will inject the cookie so that we can do a server-side render. But you must explicitly define it with interceptors right here. So that's basically all. And before I get into the closing, let's do the okay. I might need to open DBBeaver, but I might not. Okay, let me open DBBeaver first. So this one, I utilize the, how should I say, the Spartan UI. I want to try the Spartan stack, but I don't really have time because I was completing this one. But I think next week I will try a Spartan stack. Not for the 2.5 rendering plan, but you know, for my other projects. Yes, I'm a busy person. Okay, we're connected to this one. We select. Okay, we have Bernardus, and then I'm gonna delete that guy from existence. No, I will be dead. Okay, and then we sign up. We create. This is the CRUD operation. Okay, open console. We log in. Yes, we log in, right? This is an effect of create credentials. Okay, I can be bothered to fix it. I can. You gotta be kidding me, man. What? Yesterday it was fine, man. Your user ID. I'm just gonna restart bun, okay? I'm just gonna restart bun. Okay, this is another one. Node or bun by default rejects self-signed certificate. So I need to say not TLS reject unauthorized into false so that VIT can work. We are logged in, as you can see. What is happening? You gotta be kidding me, man. Oh. I literally have this one, man. Okay, I'm just gonna. I'm gonna pause this one, okay, and then we return into it. Ain't no way, that took way longer than I expected. 20 minutes was spent on Angular routing. Great. Okay, so let's restart the showcase, alright? I'm just gonna re-see this one and then delete. Okay. There's no, then we sign up again using the same account. Sign up. Sign up. Okay, then we already signed up, okay? Just as a disclaimer, every password that I will type in this video are fake. Those are not my real password, alright? So, let's type in myself. Username. Okay. I am good. What's up? That is creative. Where is the error? Credentials ID. Yes, these are the pinnacles of the error. I cannot use this. I need to use src pages. Huh? Ngapain src? You. Come on, man. I'm recording right now. Can't you just chill for a bit? Yikes. That was horrendous. Okay, I forgot. Go back. I'm just gonna delete this one, right? Okay. Okay, so I can create the account. I can log in, alright? I can register. Then I can update the information. Please do not let there be no bug. Yes, it is updated. When you refresh, it is still the same. And then I can update the password. Let's say I updated to IDK. Submit. I'll be logged out. And because our name was this, then we pass in the password IDK. Boom, we are logged back in. We can edit the password, and then we can create, read, update, and now last one, delete. We go back to DB Beaver, and as you can see, there are no users at all. I'm gonna sign up again. This is also not my real email. Okay, create account, and then let's create a vault. Not GitHub, let's just say IDK U, IDKP, IDKD. We can create. I don't know username. It is copy pasted. I don't know password. I don't know description. IDK. Let's edit the information. This is IDK SN. This is IDK username. IDK description. We update it, but for edit password we have separate update. Let's just say I pass in idea. Oh yeah, I need to repeat. Yes. Idea. Yes. I can delete this. Oh, to show you the power of the search bar, let's rename this wildly different thing. Let's say Cloudflare. The username is GitHub. Do I get sued? Oh, come on, man. Keyboard, monitor. Desk. Okay, let's go back. When I type desk, it won't appear. But when I type desk, it will appear because of the description. But when I type P, it won't appear. But when I type keyboard, it will appear. But when I type, let's just say I typed in more, right? Monitor. Yes. It'll check the username, the service name, and the description. So yeah, that's basically it for create, read, update, delete. The bug hunting took way longer than I wanted, but again, it works. So let's end this ASAP because my dad needs to use the computer, alright? So, what I learned, Spring Boot is not a backend. This is what I meant earlier. It is an inversion of control machine. Its main job is dependency injection. Spring Boot Web is what transforms Spring Boot into a backend. Yes, as I said earlier, Spring Boot is just a dependency injection machine. And Tomcat Web is the one who's responsible for turning Spring Boot into a backend. Another reason Spring Boot is quote-unquote slow or has a bad cold start is because of its nature, an inversion of control NDI machine. All annotation you saw in Spring Boot needs to be scanned, which in itself, annotation doesn't do anything, just marks the functionality. Spring Boot needs to do mathematical and smart guesses, so you don't have to write verbose Spring XML configs. Yes. Bean is an object managed by Spring Boot's inversion of control. You create one by either marking a class with nearly all the annotations in Spring Boot or giving annotations bean to a method that returns an object. That instantiated object is a bean. So yep, Spring Boot is just one massive VG subset. In Spring Boot, once Tomcat bean takes control, it doesn't know anything about our beans. That's why Spring registers a filter inside Tomcat that basically says, let us handle the intercepting before you do anything. And then it executes the security filter chain inside your security config. And inside that security filter chain, you can register your own filter or middleware. So that's for the middleware. Security is basically a middleware. Yes. And Spring Boot, where were we gonna? Okay, Spring Boot doesn't have a custom JWT starter. Either you do session-based monolith or you do OAuth 2.0 with third-party provider. Password encryptor is always this. Password hashing. This should be password hashing, but I don't know if the encrypt. Oh no. This is password hashing. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, alright? Password hashing is always deterministic. Even if you turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 into a massive long string, every instances of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will always be that long string. This is a vulnerability known as the rainbow table. That's where salting is needed on top of hashing. Encryption is different than hashing. In my app, hashing is used for user password. Because hashing is always deterministic, you can hash it before storing it to the database and check whether user input turned into long unintelligible string is the same in the DB. Encryption can be decrypted to return to its original value. This is proven in the web security, TLS and SSL for HTTPS. The reason JWT and encryption need a secret key is because of safety. When a hacker or a malicious user tampers with the data, the signature will break. This secret is used alongside your user ID and a specific moving data like issued at and JWT ID, etc. to make sure every JWT token is unique. But encryption, we have IV. It is stored in the DB alongside your encrypted data, so that's why the same pass, encrypted, not hashed, is different. Even if you broke into the database, everything is encrypted. And if the hacker manages to get into your backend.env.db, I don't know how you screw that bad, but let's just continue. JWT should have two tokens, access token and reverse token. In my implementation, we only have access token with 10 hours lives. This is bad, you shouldn't do this, but because this is my first Spring security project with the JWT, I'm sorry. Next week, I'm gonna implement this. So, a bit of history. At the start of the web, when PHP is still the cool, I don't know if it was cool at all or what. When PHP was cool and then backend returns HTML, we use session-based cookie. Life was good until the SPA kingdom arrives. We start using SPA, which makes session-based local cookie not obsolete but less preferred, and gave rise to JWT because of its statelessness. So we have to use JWT. We use authorization bearer token stored in the local storage until we realized single page application makes the search engine optimization, I guess. CEO is bad, yes. SEO is bad. And cross-site scripting is rampant because of local storage. So we start creating a server-side rendering JavaScript framework. And another bottleneck, local storage doesn't exist in the server. So now we are back full circle to HTTP only cookie and two servers for backend as a stateless JSON API and frontend as an interactive and pretty server that sends HTML. In Next.js, it only sends HTML and only hydrate the client component to send as little JavaScript as possible. But in Analog and Next.js are isomorphic. So the server will send HTML for SEO, and in the end we hydrate the whole page anyway, turning them into single page application. Though you can select partial hydration and use incremental static generation or server-side generation. So from my nerding about history, we now can see we used cookie-based out to store JWT access token. This is done so that JavaScript can't access it, or you need to send the whole header if you want to. After authentication, auth-n, the cookie will be sent with your every request. Spring Boot interpret that, and now you can access user details via authentication principle to access your user. In a real secure JWT-based architecture, we have a separate table in database to store hashed refresh token. Usually, this is also salted, and when the short-lived access token dies, the front end hits the endpoint for refresh. Your backend generates a new access token and a refresh token, sends them both to your client. This is what I talked about earlier. Global exception handler can either be a REST exception handler and centipede. Yes. You can create guards in Analog.js that will be subscribed when you visit a page. So Angular's router can allows can activate function to return a few different things: a boolean, true or false, a URL tree for renavigation, a promise, or an observable that will be subscribed into. And then we have observable. Oh yeah, I didn't really dive deep into the surface, alright? We have .type. This is like a middleware or filter that can't modify the data. It can look into the data but can't edit it in any way. Takes the data from the observable, runs it through a function to modify it, and passes the new transform value down the pipe. Switchmap takes the data and allow you to do another asynchronous task and return a new observable. Now to create an interceptor, which is just another middleware or filter, like Spring Boot per request, you can create an interceptor and sign it in app.config.ts, provide HTTP client, and everything will pass through that. So this is what I went through throughout the week. I created this in 6 or 7 days, alright? I kept getting 403. This happened because Spring Boot by default masks error for safety. So that's why you need to specify you're developing and you want to see the trace. I also got 415 because every single data sent to my Spring Boot REST controller via request body needs to be application JSON. You can't just send a string. Order of passing is important in Java. I had my password and description switch. So, okay, this is the main problem. Fight Vite now has tsconfig paths through. Okay, this is maybe not Vite's fault because I used relative URL, but I guess relative URL, so that's why it doesn't work. I'll try it in my next project, but I didn't know why it worked when I tested yesterday. But it seems that something horrible happened, and now, but alas, now we are done. Now this marks the the end of week 20 and 21 simultaneously. So yeah, I guess that's all for today. Today is I gotta to go. Okay, so this is my 2.5 year entering plan. I thank you all for watching. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know why I mixed that up, but yeah, Bernardus signing off. Thank you for watching.